Hello everyone, American Sports 365. Here with me once again is my colleague Alex. So, obviously, it's currently the October international break, so of course there are no matches to talk about, but there are still some Arsenal talking about, specifically in terms of January transfer rumors, which of course have started to heat up now with only a couple of months until that transfer window opens. So, first of all, one player who's been linked with a January transfer to Arsenal is Toney of Brentford. Obviously, he's suspended right now because of betting, but he's obviously a great player, very good striker with a lot of good qualities, very efficient in front of goal, and also is a good playmaker as well. Also very physical, so really has pretty much everything that you would want in terms of a Premier League striker. And he apparently considers Arsenal his preferred choice if he does end up leaving Brentford in that January transfer window. So, what are your thoughts on Arsenal's links with Toney?
Yeah, I certainly like to see him play for Arsenal. I think he's a great player, and as you said, he's a very complete forward. That's what I really like about him. Is he's a great goal scorer. He's also a great creator for others. So I'd be happy if the transfer does go through, especially if Jesus hasn't been able to rediscover his best form by then. I mean, that would only be a few months of Jesus not being at his best, but when you're fighting for the title, you can't really have, half a season of, certainly not a full season of your number one striker not playing at their best.
Yeah, I agree. That's true. I think Jesus overall has had a pretty good start to this season. Not as good as the start to last season, for he has injury problems, but I definitely think that the Arsenal have to be kind of ruthless in terms of performances at every position, really. But definitely, especially with striker, and even if Jesus plays really, really well, another concern is that I don't think Nketiah is really good enough for what Arsenal want to achieve at this point. So even then, even if Jesus is banging in goals and getting assists every single week, I still think it'd probably be a good idea for Arsenal to pursue Toney and just have that really strong striker rotation of Gabriel Jesus and Toney, and obviously the two of them are very different players and provide very different things. And apparently, Toney is valued at about £60 million or so. Obviously, a hefty fee, but I think it's a reasonable fee considering his quality. And as you said, he's a very complete forward. There's not really any skill where he's lacking. Got everything, very physical and great, can score goals, very good in the air. He just has really everything you'd want from a striker. So I'd be very excited if Arsenal could get that transfer done, especially since, as I mentioned earlier, it seems like Toney would prefer a move to Arsenal if he does end up leaving Brentford in January, which I think he honestly probably will. Now, Arsenal have also been looking into options to provide cover for Saka on the right wing, which makes sense for quite a few reasons. And one of the players that they're considering pursuing is Pedro Neto. Obviously, plays for Wolves right now. Neto is under contract until 2027, and it's likely that Wolves would at least try pretty hard to resist selling him in January, given how important he is to their team and given how bad overall they've been at this point in the season. But their resolve might be tested with a high enough bid. So we'll see what happens. I think that would be a very good choice for cover for Saka on the right wing. So what are your thoughts on Arsenal's links with Pedro Neto?
Yeah, I do agree. I think it'd be great cover for Saka. I think maybe Wolves would actually be willing to sell him because I think they're having some financial problems. So I think there's a good chance that gets done in January.
Yeah, Wolves' finances are not looking particularly healthy right now, so they might have to be in a position where they might have to accept a bid for Pedro Neto if the amount is high enough. Obviously he's a very, very skilled player, and really in his prime right now. So I think he would be an excellent addition to the Arsenal squad, and let Saka take off some games and rest more, because his workload has been kind of crazy, especially considering that he's also a key player for England at this point as well. So yeah, I think Arsenal should definitely strongly consider pursuing Pedro Neto, and if not him, then someone else, because I think Saka definitely needs some cover on the right wing, whether it's Neto or someone else. Now, one other player that Arsenal have been linked to is Arthur Vermeeren. He's an 18-year-old Belgian midfielder who currently plays for Royal Antwerp. He's been described as Wonder Kid, and some consider him the next Iniesta, which is certainly quite a comparison. At this point, he's valued at £17 million, and Barcelona and Manchester United are also linked with him as well. I think the main reason to me why Arsenal might invest more in the midfield, after obviously spending a lot on Havertz and Declan Rice recently, is Thomas Partey's injury issues. We all know how good he is when he's actually playing, but he has had more than a few problems actually staying fit. So I think from that perspective, it makes sense. So what are your thoughts on Arsenal's links with this Wonder Kid?
Yeah, I don't know too much about him, but I know he's an exciting young player and he has a lot of big clubs after him. I do think it would make sense to sign him and, either loan him out or keep him as like the third choice central midfielder. I do think that Partey's injury issues make him difficult to rely on, and also I think given Thomas Partey's pedigree, he's less likely to accept a bench role than a young kid who's still developing would be. So I think it makes sense to try and sign Vermeeren.
Yeah, I think it makes sense as well. Obviously, a ton of potential, and if he's not, obviously if he comes close to living up to that potential, £17 million would certainly not be that big of an investment. But it's hard to predict how it goes with those things. I think it would definitely make sense for Arsenal to keep pursuing that and see what happens. So we'll see what happens on that front.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it. Arsenal has been linked with Pedro Neto, Ivan Toney, and Arthur Vermeeren. All players at slightly different stages in their careers, but definitely all quality players. So we'll see what happens. I hope Arsenal can at least get the first two deals done, because I think Toney and Pedro Neto would definitely strengthen this Arsenal squad quite a bit.
Yep, I agree.